I entered the room a little skeptical of whether, I would be convinced on this. But I think, needless to say, that first meeting left a big mark on me. Like I remember getting out of the room and thinking, first of all, what a founder.
I still remember this conversation where you said that, we will move fast and we will be very true and we will not waste time. Because, sometimes we also as founders are feeling that, is there genuine interest or is it just like, data collection or something? And I just went ahead with that gut.
The first thing that they said was, we feel so bad that this is only in India.
Yeah.
We wish something was like that was there in other markets, including in Germany.
Yeah.
So as users, we totally relate to it.
I still remember this one conversation with a customer who actually looked at a pamphlet and said that, your subscription rates are very expensive. That one thing I saw was that I was on a first name basis with all my customers. And I said, this works for 50, 100 customers.
When we as investors met you and your team, we were wowed by the quality.
Yeah.
And therefore, we would love all the listeners as well as a lot of our founders to also kind of interact and figure out what the secret sauce there.
I also think probably the only guy in the country जहाँ पे the wife and the mother cannot say कि घर के काम में हाथ नहीं बिठाता है.
I actually I tell my family a lot that look, I've solved a problem not just for
Exactly. You've gone way and beyond man on this front.
I'm taking one for the team, for all the husbands. And the fact that we're creating India's first female gig workforce, which has flexibility as an attribute embedded into it, is leading to disruption in the sense that a lot of people who are not part of this, who are not able to earn, are actually coming in. December of 2024, I actually tried telling my security guard to send a few house helps who needed jobs, and I was stunned to meet 200 experts, 200 house helps who were working, and I didn't know that even one existed. I couldn't find one as a consumer.
And I remember very clearly that what you replied to that Rohit, let's make it a challenge, right? Let's see whether it can happen or not. I will give it everything. Tell your advisors that this is a unique case, an outlier case. Everything will be ready on day one, and let's try and make this happen.
Building on that, Pankaj and Rohit from BII sit down with Aayush in this episode to unpack how Snabbit is reshaping everyday home services and what it means for the future of urban convenience.
Aayush, it's a pleasure to have you. I wanted to do this for a while now. I know our relationship is new, but still, we have been waiting for this because it's not every day that we get a category creation company, especially in consumer tech. In fact, it's been, common amongst investors for a while कि अब consumer tech में करने को बचा गया, right? And then you came with Snabbit, with this iconic color, and everything has changed in the last year or so. So would love to discuss this. But I want to start right at the beginning. I remember our discussion. Take us to the early days, the first few weeks. I remember it started as a family business.
Yeah, it not by choice, but because I didn't have much money to pay salaries, I guess. So yeah, I think it was like a very delusional, and now I even say stupid me back in 2025, just trying to figure this idea out, which I don't give myself any credit for. I think 1 in 3 B school case studies are done on this idea, right?
Yeah.
That, can you digitize the space?
Yeah.
So similarly enough, not knowing how many people had already burned their hands, I tried doing the same. And the insight was very simple, right? That in a world where you have 2 or 3 mobile apps for almost everything. Now, if you need a cab, packet of chips, some food, you'll probably have to press you'll have to press 2 or 3 times in your phone. And then I was, as a bachelor, dealing with this insane problem of not getting a house help, a cook, different kind of services. And I said that in a world where everything is about convenience, this seems like a problem which everyone's dealing with and is highly inconvenient. And that's how, I just went headfirst into solving this problem. Quit my job, started out of my apartment.
Yeah.
Did not really know what to do next.
Yeah.
I also did not know what would the pitch be to hire someone.
Yeah.
So I ended up calling my younger brother and said that, I think like that's the only card you can play, right?
Yeah.
You can still call your younger brother and be like, why don't you help me out? So he flew in, and that's how we started it. And I think we operated out of one BHK for almost like a month. At that point in time, it was very funny. Like, in the morning, we used to go sourcing.
Yeah.
So there was a space. It was called Park Site.
Okay.
Near Powai, and we would go there and we would try sourcing and put out pamphlets, and we obviously got some folks to help us out as well. During the day we would service orders, so we would like have a laptop and a phone, and take orders and send experts who were sitting in our home. So I used to basically the hall had been converted into a hub of sorts.
Yeah.
And we had 5 experts sitting there, and we would send them, and mostly the jobs were in the same society or in the opposite society. At night we would go from door to door and put out pamphlets, just slide them under the doors. And there was a very funny incident. So we obviously never had permission.
Yeah.
So and I can joke about it now. So the strategy used to be to take an Uber Premium, right?
Okay.
And enter the gate, because if you're in like in a nice sedan car, like less chances that the guard is going to intercept you and ask you. So you just wave your hand from inside. But actually you're sitting with like a bunch of pamphlets, and then you just slide in and you basically go out and distribute it. And that's what we would do at night. So I think those were the early days. Scrappy, insanely frugal, but I think somewhere or the other we kind of found direction, and we started seeing how customers really started appreciating the service, the kind of value it was adding to experts. And I think one thing led to another, and that's how this category came into being.
Yeah, interesting. So Aayush, interestingly, in that story you mentioned your relation to the problem that you faced as a bachelor. What about your relation to the insight? Because this has been one of the oldest pens, and I remember in one of our first meetings, the way you put it, on how Indians typically won't pay subscription, but this is one spend, probably the biggest one for most families, and how it's still on subscription. Like, how did you went about thinking that there can be a category over here which was always in plain sight, right? Like, what prompted a solution, or how we can tackle it or organize this?
Yeah, I think, see, I keep saying this, right? 25 years of internet economy in India, every 5 years, one category moves online. Services is one of the largest categories in India, where a lot of discretionary income is concentrated. And it's also been the least digitized category by far. So I truly believe that in a country like India, for true disruption to happen, 3 things need to align. I think the right team, the right business model, and the right kind of capital, which allows you to make initial mistakes. I think not just me, but a lot of our early team had experience in hyperlocal commerce. And that really helped us in trying to envision the supply chain and how it would work. Like, for example, creating a walking first nano market design, right? That requires some sort of, I would say, understanding of how neighborhoods really operate, right? Which hyperlocal commerce often gives a good taste of. The second thing was the business model. A lot of founders that I spoke to in this regard, as I said, 0 points for the idea, right? It's a very, very well understood pain point. Just the way to solve it is something that, and to solve it in a scalable way is something that I think people usually have a problem with. Spoke to a lot of founders, understood what they had done wrong, also understood their learnings. I still remember one particular founder telling me, Aayush, don't start with task-based pricing. I still started with task-based pricing.
Okay.
Third day I pivoted out of it and moved into price-based, hourly pricing, right? So spent a lot of time speaking to people who had attempted this in the past. Also kept my ears to the ground. So picked up every signal. One key strategy was keeping my most difficult customers very close to me.
Okay.
So, in the early days, when you have a difficult customer who's calling you and shouting at you, you say that, let me move on, it's sorry, like refund karke aage badhte hain. We said that this is the customer we need to continue to serve for at least 30-40 more days.
Get a 5-star out of them.
Get a 5-star, and like the hourly pricing to the task-based pricing to hourly pricing pivot was based on that customer's insight.
Okay.
That customer said, I have called that the expert for home cleaning. Now, if I want to get the home cleaned thrice, it's on me. You can't question that. I said, this is a loophole,
Yeah.
right? Anyone can explore it.
Yeah.
So I said that the objective metric here is time, and that's why we moved everything to time.
Interesting.
Similarly, the subscription pivot, right? So when we started with everything.
Yeah.
Subscription, on demand, instant, advance, everything we possibly could. And we said we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a thesis of how subscription would drive volume
Yeah.
and instant would drive margins, right?
Yeah.
And how it would be more universal in nature. Until I still remember this one conversation with a customer who actually looked at a pamphlet and said that, your subscription rates are very expensive. I will never take this service. So I said,
Wow.
okay, our subscription rates were 100 rupees an hour,
Okay.
right? Or whatever, 150 rupees an hour.
Yeah.
And then just below that was a table of instant booking rates.
Mhm.
And that was 200 rupees an hour,
Mm.
right? And the customer's like, oh, this is very cheap,
Okay.
right? So they were looking at 4,500 per month and saying expensive, but they were looking at 200 an hour
Yeah. Saying cheap.
for a day and saying cheap.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I said, this is that's like what happened. And she actually was an evangelist and a promoter for the instant service and a complete detractor for the subscription service, saying this is too expensive.
Okay.
Mm.
And I said that, and then that's when a penny dropped and I started observing this signal and speaking more and more to consumers who were using us only for instant.
Yeah.
And then this use case started coming along that, my house help takes a leave in a very unpredictable fashion.
Yeah.
And it was consistent.
Yeah.
And then I landed up on this concept of badli bai.
Okay.
Right. So it was all about just talking to consumers, whether it is at marketing events, whether it is when they're giving you feedback, etc. And they had society WhatsApp groups with the watchmen where they would actually try to find someone every time their help took a leave. And women would actually try to help each other, saying that, hey, today my help is gone. So I'm going to get it from some my neighbor, and the neighbor will I'll help out the neighbor when he or she needs it. When I understood all of this, I said that this is a universal problem.
Yeah.
Households have found their own offline way of dealing with it, but it still remains highly inconvenient.
Yeah.
If this is such a big pain point, and it sounded intuitive as well, what if this is my business model, and what if this is my way of entering a household?
Yeah.
Better margins, more power for the platform.
Yeah.
So if I said that if on a daily basis I can find enough households where the house help has taken a day off, then I will be able to create an on-demand service out of it.
Yeah.
95% of our bookings were subscription at that point in time, shut all of them down overnight.
How big was the business at that time?
Very small, 30-40 jobs. So
Okay.
a day. But
Okay.
But in fact, that's one of my questions. Like, was this the moment you realized that you're onto something? So we still have a long way to go. But from those 5 experts in the home to where we are today, like what was the first inflection point where you thought that, I've got onto this model, this is something that can scale?
I knew that subscription won't scale. So I had eliminated. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I had figured out that what I'm doing today is not going to scale.
Yeah.
So it was best to shut down and move ahead.
Fair enough.
So I would not say it was an inflection point. I would say that it was just that, what you're doing, whether it's 95%, although it's 95%, this is not going to scale in the future. So shut it down. Here is where I was potentially seeing something happen.
Yeah.
And that's how we pivoted out of it.
Yeah.
I still remember having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, you're giving away predictable revenue for sudden instant revenue, which may or may not come.
Yeah.
Typical finance question to ask. And I was just explaining the supply chain nuances of it to him. So it was a very interesting conversation on why would you want to give up a very high frequency business model in exchange for a lower frequency top-up model, which actually reduces revenue per user, all of those things.
Were you able to convince your dad on that one?
No, I don't think so, but I think
But you convinced us.
we convinced you a year later. At that point of time, even we wouldn't have been able to convince you. I genuinely feel that it was just, that one thing I saw was that I was on a first name basis with all my customers. And I said, this works for 50, 100 customers?
Yeah.
Because then the customer is saying, hey, why don't you send someone late? Hey, I don't like this person. I like this person for 7 days. Today, I didn't like this person. So I said, this is not going to scale.
Yeah.
Shut it down and pivoted to instant and on demand. Didn't look back again. Even though customers keep requesting it, I know the supply chain challenges of servicing and fulfilling it. I think I told you guys also that, no matter what anyone does, this is not going to fly.
Yeah.
And I think that was a moment where we found PMF, but we didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I think it took me almost 9 months to tell myself confidently that we found TMF.
Yeah.
Because this was around February, March. We took 3-4 months to stabilize the business. Then came and at that time we didn't look at cohorts and
Yeah.
all of that, right? So we were just saying, आज jobs हुए, कल jobs नहीं हुए, तो क्या हो रहा है? Is the business working
Yeah.
fundamentally, etc. All those questions.
Yeah.
And then came festivals. So festivals के time पे there was a lot of
Yeah.
demand, but we couldn't attribute
Yeah.
it to whether this is like
Yeah.
consistent demand. So I said, let Diwali pass. So Ganesh Chaturthi happened, then Dussehra happened, then
Yeah.
Diwali happened, then Chhat Puja happened. So I still remember going to my team and saying, "Aaj bhi koi festival?" And they're like, "Haan, aaj Lakshmi Puja." I was like, "Okay, fine, let it pass." And then finally we were in November, December at that point.
Yeah.
And at that time the business kept growing. So
Fair.
that's when I told myself that it's working. We know it's working. Let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Then we raised our Series A
I know.
in Jan.
Super interesting. And I've seen this DNA a lot actually, that you're talking about this innovation. So as a category creator and leader, I know that you're also an innovation leader, right? There are a lot of firsts that we have done, which then have become, the segment benchmark, be it, getting away with the hubs, what we did with mobility, how we structure the whole network design. Is it the same DNA of speaking to the customer, or, first principles, or your past experience, building other businesses? Like, what is leading this in your view? What is keeping us ahead of the pack? Or is it your team?
I think paranoia.
Yeah.
And a lot of hunger. I think that is usually, like I always say this, that anything you execute is going to get copied in 6 months.
Yeah.
And if it is not getting copied, then you're on the wrong track.
Yeah.
So I was very clear that, like, I think you just need to constantly be on that hamster wheel,
Yeah.
executing, which means that you need to be paranoid that what's our right to win, what's our reason to exist,
Yeah.
why should we be the market leaders, why should we be the change makers.
Yeah.
I think it's just like that insane paranoia, and I think it drives, like, it comes from this hunger of wanting to build something truly impactful,
Yeah.
truly large. I think there's a lot of responsibility riding on us, right? I think in April and May, when we had this like supply crisis of sorts, I personally understood, like, how painful it is for households that were actually relying on Snabbit when we didn't show up.
Yeah.
And I think that just, like, keeps us going.
Yeah.
How easy or difficult it is to build a great team following your vision here?
I think it's actually one of the most difficult things.
How have you done it?
I don't know if I've done it fully. I think
We hear
it's-
good things about actually great things about your team.
Yeah.
When we as investors met you and your team, we were wowed by the quality.
Yeah.
And therefore, we would love all the listeners as well as a lot of our founders to also kind of interact and figure out what's the secret sauce there.
I would say that actually I think of it slightly differently, and it's good because I always say that we try to hire thoda औकात से बाहर,
Okay.
which is like you're not hiring for today, you're hiring for like 6-9 months out.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I've learned through mistakes. I don't think I was good at it. I still don't think I'm great at it. I think we can do better. I think few frameworks that I've basically learned by making mistakes
Okay.
is to obviously optimize for the will over skill. Most of the skills can be acquired, but really, like, hire for the right will. My founding engineer, who's still with us today, took an overnight train based on a 5-minute conversation from Nasik to Mumbai and started coding. And on the day one of that he was coding, he left office after I left. And then you will have someone who will come in a fancy suit, give you say why they want to join you, etc., and not show up the other day. So like solving for that is very, very important. Identifying where the will exists, and then solving for that, even if it doesn't show up on the resume.
Right.
That's one. Not hiring with desperation. So a lot of times what happens is that we really need to get someone in the team for a particular role, and we don't understand how it biases us even before we enter the conversation. So we're so desperate that we enter a conversation almost wanting to say yes, and unless we are given a strong reason to say no, we will end up making the hire. So I think just when you enter an interview or a conversation, try to find reasons to not hire, and if you can't find any, then you should proceed.
Very interesting
Yeah.
framework.
And I love your sniping as well, right? I remember for the most important tasks, when we came in, you were very clear that these are the one or two guys in the whole country that you want to go after, and then you would work on them
Yeah.
for weeks or months with dedication.
So we've not found a lot of success with agencies, etc. Because there are people who are looking out for a job. And more importantly, more often than not, you can obviously get lucky. We have not found success in trying to get the best fit. So when we are trying to look at a role, we are trying to look at companies that have done this very, very well. So if I'm looking for someone to help me out with, say, data intelligence, I would definitely look at a Myntra, which basically pioneered the whole search and recommendations framework very early on. So if I'm looking at like network design, I'd probably look at a mobility company or a quick commerce company. Right?
You should stop naming these companies. They'll ring fence all the employees for
Yeah,
us.
No, those people don't are
You're
not there.
giving them a heads up.
But for us, it's like when we say sniping, we basically try to find an archetype.
Yeah.
And we go after that archetype.
Yeah.
And then it's about finding that person, spending a lot of time with that person. We've never found success when we've tried to hurry the process.
Yeah.
Really investing time. And I actually get a little careful and cautious if things are going very well. The right people. It's very much like dating when you're trying to woo someone, right?
Yeah.
If you get it too easily, then it's not. you don't know if it's going to work. But it's like you need to spend a lot of time. So I think for the best talent that at least we've been able to get on board, I've spent months.
Yeah.
I think getting our chief business officer from the time when we had the first conversation to him joining was 8 months.
Exactly.
7 to 8 months.
Yeah. But Aayush, that's super commendable, by the way. In the category and the business and the fast-paced nature of the industry, we discussed this so many times, month to month, week to week, the things change. But to have that patience in the right areas to build the team is super commendable. But let me come to the next phase. In our journey, we came to Series A in November. I definitely want to cover, the beginning of our relationship. I remember meeting you for the first time. I think it was Elevation Connect, right?
Yes.
And that was super interesting for me. Like I can give the story from my end. And I don't know if I've shared this,
No,
but
you haven't. So
I entered the room a little skeptical about so I knew of the category, obviously, right? With all the noise and investment going in. I entered the room a little skeptical of whether, I would be convinced on this. But I think, needless to say, that first meeting left a big mark on me. Like I remember getting out of the room and thinking, first of all, what a founder. And secondly, there are so many misconceptions I had in my head on how the model and the business and the value proposition and everything would be structured, right? So that was super interesting for me. And you won't believe it, it is chance, this was in Mumbai. I then went on
Bangalore.
This was in Bangalore, and immediately, actually 2 weeks after that, I was in Mumbai, which was your home market. And I actually encountered it everywhere, including, I was staying with a friend and, just random conversation, and his parents lived in the home. And his mom said, Snap, and my ears shot up, right? Snabbit? Who said that? And then I just turned around and, went after Auntie. Auntie, what did you just say? Snabbit, हम ये app पे चल रहा है, हम recommend कर रहे हैं, सब कुछ कर रहे हैं. And I was stunned because by then also, like even after our meeting, I thought that our archetype would be bachelors and all of that, right? ये सबसे मुश्किल, customer persona है. And I was stunned to see that our, the generation before us was recommending and super happy with it. I spent half an hour with her. So then I knew that अब इसमें तो घुसना पड़ेगा थोड़ा, and we have to diligence, and then obviously there's a whole story. We spent a lot of time there. I would want to know from your end, how was your experience with Bertelsmann, the journey? I know, we have been part of a couple of very competitive rounds. What was the view from your side?
So I think that when we met in Elevation Connect, obviously I was like, very honestly, it was one of 20 meetings I was doing over 2 days.
Yeah.
So I was like running like a tape recorder.
Yeah.
So I think that meeting happened. And honestly, we wanted to get into the zone of executing, like, just being like, laser focused and executing. But we also somewhere knew that, fundraising is like, something that we'll constantly have to do. I think it just so happened that we ended up catching up for a month later or something. And then we took you through the business model. And then at that point of time, you showed some interest.
Yeah.
And we were not prepared for fundraising.
Yeah.
So We said that I think that I was really not prepared. I just really liked the way I still remember this conversation where you said that we will move fast and we will be very true and we will not waste time, because sometimes we also as founders are feeling that is there genuine interest, or is it just like data
Absolutely.
collection or something. And I just like went ahead with that gut, and I'm not kidding that the same day that we said that let's do this and let's share data, I actually told a couple of other investors that I don't want to, like, I'm not fundraising right now. We're actually not in the middle of fundraising. But somewhere or the other, I just thought that you were very serious about this. And I think I think that it was like 2 weeks from there. And I told my board that I've been, more than anything else, I've been stunned at the authenticity of the process. I would say that this was the most authentic process. I didn't think there was any posturing while we were negotiating heavily. I didn't think there was any posturing. I could be true, real. Okay, this is working. This is not working. This is like, we are actually having parallel conversations. And I just felt that the kind of comfort we developed in just 2 weeks is something that I already had with other members of my board. And that gave me a lot of confidence to move ahead in the direction. And yes, I would say that was a very good call.
What was very interesting is, the 2 weeks or so that we took while evaluating you, there was a lot of work that was happening on our side, right? So I would say what typically we would do in 2 to 3 months, we had to crunch it in 2 weeks' time, because as you correctly said, Rohit had discussed the view that we will act fast. We don't want to waste time, and we want to make sure that we come to an answer. So I can tell you that, Rohit, probably you took 2 teams, a lot of data, and again, as you know, Bertelsmann and Rohit and us, we cannot survive without going deep into data.
But I have to comment Aayush on that. Top 1 percentile in terms of the amount of data and the structure of data. Even now, after investing, I have to say that actually helped a lot.
So actually that, I would say, helped definitely a lot, because a lot of the data that we got from you, in fact, Rohit, I remember that specific statement that you made, that this doesn't look like a company which is at this stage. It looks like a company which is a lot more mature. And the amount of data, the amount of structured view that Aayush has on the company, on the category, the data cuts, etc., that just talked about how mature you were you are as a founder and the company.
In fact, what I would say is my first reaction looking at that was, which I always say, we could tell that this is not data prepared for investors or data room. The thought that has gone behind this, the depth, the width, it was clear that this is built for the founder's own concern. Like, this is how the founder or the management team looks at the business, thinks about it, then has rethought about it, come up with the right metrics, and this is so far ahead, which is rarely the case actually. So that was quite good.
Then another interesting story which you may not know is that, of course, we have a German parent, Bertelsmann, and our IC is global. So we had to, in an IC call, explain them what Snabbit is, and we thought the context is Snabbit is a very Indian concept. How will they even understand house help, and on top of that, then the concept of providing a marketplace of house help and so on. The interesting thing was our IC members, the first thing that they said was, we feel so bad that this is only in India. We wish something was like that was there in other markets, including in Germany. So as users, we totally relate to it. Of course, the supply side constraints may or may not allow this ever to happen in that part of the world, but we can understand why that's happening here. So kudos to the founders and the company in building such a good business. It's totally worth it. If ever supply constraint gets solved in that part of the world, please take it global and build it there. But we are totally backing you, right? And that conversation, what, half an hour?
I remember the first thing after I had finished my monologue on the investment, they were like, "Oh, we need to shift to India."
You'll be surprised. Like, we talk about AI so often. When I was in Silicon Valley, every person I met actually really, really wanted something like this to be built over there. And I have this very funny incident where I actually was speaking to a gentleman who actually came to interview in our office, and he was like, obviously all full of Claude and ChatGPT and vibe coding apps, etc., and was a power user of Snabbit. So one of the questions I asked was that, what would you give up if I had to ask you to give up one? and, and you can imagine what he answered, right? So I just say that like I think for people who are using this, it's more powerful and solving a way bigger problem that exists in today's world.
That's very fascinating. Choosing between AI and Snabbit, people are willing to leave AI, but this is more convenience than Snabbit gives more convenience than AI.
It does.
I also think probably the only guy in the country जहाँ पे the wife and the mother cannot say कि घर के काम में हाथ नहीं बटाता भी.
I actually like I tell my family a lot that look, I've solved a problem not just for us,
exactly. You've gone way and beyond, man, on this front.
I'm taking one for the team for all the husbands.
Absolutely.
No, but I think one of the other things, and I think this also stood out as a big thesis point for us, is that by organizing the experts, you're actually helping organize a very unstructured and unorganized sector of India of house helps. There are a lot of those guys on the supply side, women especially, may not get the best treatment, may not get the best kind of money, may not have the freedom to do things on their own. So there is almost like a revolution of sorts that you are bringing into the country by organizing the supply of experts. Which is massive, and I do think that as you end up doing that, it will empower women as well as experts in general in a massive way. And that honestly was also one of our bigger thesis, that not only the demand gets sorted and we feel happy as a customer, but on the supply side, what you will end up building and doing would be phenomenal.
In fact, I would say that this was the biggest finding that I had during the diligence, because I think before entering those 2 intense weeks, it was pretty clear what's happening on the demand side. But on supply, I was stunned to figure out that only 30 to 40% of the supply comes from cleaning background and experience, and rest is either net new or coming from different fields, which was quite stunning for me actually to discover and then to speak to them. Do you want to cover a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think we honestly, when I started Snabbit, it was a customer pain point, right? And the typical pain point for the customer always is that supply doesn't exist. People tell me supply is constrained. I tell them supply is unconstrained. And I found this on day one. So December of 2024, I actually tried telling my security guard to send a few house helps who needed jobs. And I was stunned to meet 200 experts, 200 house helps who were working. And I didn't know that even one existed. I couldn't find one as a consumer. So that was my start of understanding that supply is not as less as people think it is. From that day till like today, when I look at the category that is being created, I think there's a very powerful shift that's happening. India has one of the lowest workforce participation amongst women. Now, if you look at that, like if you look at the cohort of people who actually do blue collar jobs, the reason that they're not a part of the workforce is not because they don't want to earn. It's because they do not have the right means to make a living. What I'm trying to say is that mostly these households have women who are secondary breadwinners, who are entrusted with the responsibility of running the home as well, taking care of the kid, taking care of the home. Like, something as simple as 2 p.m. is when the water is, when the municipality is going to give water for an hour, so you have to queue up. That's the responsibility of the lady in the house, right? They also have health issues. They have menstrual cycles to deal with. And that's why what we realized is that a typical 9 to 5 job, whether it's in a hotel, a mall, a salon, doesn't actually fit what they want to do. So they need flexibility in terms of the number of hours that they work. A lot of 1 in 5 experts work as less as 4 hours a day. They also need flexibility in terms of the number of days they show up. Right now, if someone if our average attendance on the platform is 21 days.
Okay.
So an average expert is taking 9 leaves in a month, not because she doesn't want to work, but because she's either unwell or she has to take care of her kid or she has to go to the school. Something or the other keeps coming up, something that was not factored into the way in which this category, employment was being generated.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're creating India's first female gig workforce, which has flexibility as an attribute embedded into it, is leading to disruption in the sense that a lot of people who are not part of this, who are not able to earn, are actually coming in. And that's why one in two experts that we have are getting an income for the first time.
Exactly.
And 3 in 4 are getting a formal income for the first time.
Yeah.
So there is employment, there's an earning opportunity with dignity, and there is like financial inclusion.
Yeah.
So I think that the supply side disruption is something that I didn't start out to solve, but it gives me a lot of satisfaction. It gives my team a lot of satisfaction when we talk, we discuss, we find out, and we understand the true impact we are creating beyond the households we are servicing.
Yeah. No, fair.
So on this kind of taking that topic, and Rohit, I know that's your favorite topic also, both on the customer side and on the expert side, what are the interesting use cases that you have seen? And again, we have seen some as well, which we did not anticipate would be there.
It's amazing actually what a low AOV and removal of friction actually does to consumer behavior, right? We have seen it across, started with quick commerce and so on. And we have seen it over here. And to Pankaj, one would love to know what you have come across, because they're quite interesting use cases that we have seen around.
I think, so obviously my customers find their own ways of using it.
Yeah.
I think there are various cohorts of customers.
Yeah.
So obviously the primary and secondary we keep talking about, right? That's what's bread and butter. So the primary consumer is the one that's begun defaulting to Snabbit as their go-to app for everything around house health. The secondary consumer is typically a household that has a kid. Consider Snabbit as a very reliable backup whenever their primary engagement with their house help breaks, which typically breaks 3 to 4 times a month. But on the fringes, low in volume but very interesting in terms of quirkiness and insights, are two cohorts which I think have been very insightful, and one of them is my favorite, but that will be the second one. But when we try to understand the use case in very posh upscale neighborhoods, in homes which had 3-4 rooms, and like for example, if you look at the Camellia or like Lodha World Towers in Mumbai, so we actually went and started speaking to customers that, okay, why are you using it? The most interesting one was that when we called them up, it was actually the house help over there picking up the phone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's either helping them out in weekend chores. Sometimes it was just replacing them for a day.
So the house help itself was using the service.
So I call it help needs help.
Yeah.
But in a lot of upscale neighborhoods, it's the help that's booking a help to take a day off, or to get some work done, or to just or the customer is booking to just make sure that the help gets a helping hand.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting quirky use case where.
By the way, it's not very uncommon. I mean, I see that in my house that a lot of times my cook, if more people are coming to the house, needs a sous chef to kind of do all the cutting and chopping, etc. And very often he would, request on Snabbit to get a help to kind of do that. So I do think that's definitely a very interesting use case, and it's actually real use case. It's not very infrequent.
I would. I had a help as well back in Mumbai, and one day she said, so her husband used to live in the same city. They're from Northeast, but they would stay afar, so they would catch up maybe twice 2 days a month. They would just be together. So one day she said that hey, I have to go for dinner with my husband. So why don't you just book Snabbit to get the stuff done? I was like, what? Like, really? But I think it's very interesting how these use cases come up surface. But I think the one I didn't speak about is that similarly, when we obviously audited these upscale neighborhood jobs, we got this insight. We also audited a lot of jobs that were happening in chawls, And at one of time, the question we were asking is, should certain areas be serviceable? How do we look at network design from a density point of view? And then there's this place called Milind Nagar in Mumbai, and we actually saw some jobs coming out from there. So again, we spoke to customers and we realized that for a lot of customers, getting a daily house help, even in the subscription offline format, is too expensive.
Yeah.
Like assume it's 100 rupees a day. So that's a monthly investment of 3,000 rupees. Typically, these are homes where the female is a homemaker and she takes care of a lot of the jobs that need to be done. But once in a while, she is either unwell or she has guests over. And for that for those 1 or 2 days, she might have the appetite or the affordability to book a help.
Yeah.
So then her monthly expense, she might not be able to afford 3,000 a month, but 150 rupees on 1 or 2 days a month actually works.
Yeah.
So for a lot of homes, we are actually the first ever providers of house help.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that these homes over time will grow, and the frequency for such a service will improve and increase. But it's great to see that a lot of people who could otherwise not afford help, with a format like ours, which a lot of people might think is more expensive, actually find it cheaper to engage with.
I mean, one of the other very interesting to kind of hear that, and one of the things that I have kind of seen as well, very interesting, is that this whole aspect of empathy that was there with people, customers, but let's say because they wanted, let's say, full-time help and certain tasks to get done, and they only had a limited budget, they always used to get the help to do that work, which was a lot more tedious. And now with Snabbit coming in, actually I'm seeing a lot of empathy coming in, and people already had empathy, and they are now saying, listen, you go and take rest for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Let's get a Snabbit expert to come in and help you, and then do it. And at the end of the day, it's only adding a fraction to the overall cost, and that alternative hence is there versus earlier not been there. I do feel that overall, not only for experts, this is becoming an awesome proposition of our customers, but also for a lot of experts who are not in the Snabbit network, they are feeling a lot more relaxed and empowered by virtue of having a supplemental expert network helping them. So which is a very interesting use case, which at least at our investment time, we did not anticipate that would happen, but such amazing stuff is happening in the market.
Yeah.
No, I think this is one of those very rare. I feel privileged that we're building one of those rare businesses where digitization is not marginalizing any part of the supply chain, whether offline or online, right?
Yeah.
I think we're creating value for everybody. The household that has the ability to that wants to avail the convenience, and basically pay a small premium. The expert who, with the help of technology, can provide this instant, convenient help at a premium and earn a premium, right? Through technology that becomes scalable and high frequency. And in that process, obviously, we as an organization also make a spread. I think that's just wonderful, because we're not taking away from anyone, yet giving back to every part of the supply or value chain that chooses to engage with us.
That's wonderfully said, and I think one of the least understood part about that model. So, but let me ask this question in a different way. This category is exploding, which means that there's a lot of media attention to it. Now, I have, I think there are a lot of misconceptions about the model itself. At least I feel that way. And my biggest issue, like the one pet peeve that I know, and I would love to understand from your point of view also, what are the misconceptions that you deal with every day, either tackling media or anybody else, any other stakeholder. But for me, whenever I'm speaking to someone, it's like, there's a lot of growth, but the discount led hai and all of that. And, you mentioned it now twice. I said discount for whom, right? If you look at supply per hour, they're earning much more. If you look at demand also, per hour, they're paying much more than, what the subscription costs, right? So what part of it is actually discounted? The other part is about economics, which in itself is beautiful. And our views on that, no last mile delivery, no warehouses, no inventory. Like the model works beautifully on that aspect. Like the scrutiny on this part, which I think is, probably not that well understood, is a thing that I'm constantly batting. I don't know if you feel the same way, or are there any other misconceptions that you have to deal?
I don't think it's a misconception. I think there is obviously a narrative. I also don't think that narrative is completely illogical, given two things. Number one, that we acquire and introduce customers to a category.
Yeah.
Now, every time you do that, you need to keep the barrier and the friction very low in terms of the experience, in terms of the cost that the customer has to pay. After all, we need to understand that no one in the world has ever availed an instant house help before Snabbit launched.
Yeah.
And the only parallel that you could probably draw is what an Uber would have had done when they were acquiring customers. They did give subsidies and discounts early on as well. We do the same. And I think that obviously that is one reason to believe that we are in this world of crazy discounting. But yes, we do.
But it's discount to what we eventually want to be at.
Yes,
but not necessarily to what the consumer is already paying, right? Which was different in case of an Uber and so on.
In some cases, no, I'm sure that in when a customer took an Uber ride for the first time, it was actually cheaper than a black cab.
Yeah,
so massively cheap. Like when it came into India, everyone was getting free rides.
Yeah,
right. But that was to introduce people to the concept of being able to book a cab online.
Yeah,
because it was so new and it was completely untested. And you had to trust the service, you had to trust so many things, right? The same thing is happening with us. So we are actually going down the same route. Getting a customer to buy a packet of chips online is not the same as getting someone to get a house help, which is why we will have to invest more, not just from a capital perspective, but from a complete infrastructure perspective. How does the reliability not break? All of those things really matter a lot more in today's world when you're introducing a category to the urban consumer, which is why we incentivize the first 1, 2, 3 bookings. Beyond that, do we do predatory pricing? The answer is no. Like for example, there's this whole narrative around like 1 rupee, 0 rupees, etc. Less than 1% of our jobs last month were priced at a single digit. And they were not priced because we were selling it at single digits or cheap prices. It was basically service recovery. It was basically free jobs that were given out if our experience failed in the previous job. So we're actually not doing predatory pricing for repeat customers. The other reason why there is this whole thought process around discounting is because there's a lot of competition, and pricing often becomes a very easy tool to manage when it comes to trying to gain market share. And that's okay. That's the world we live in. I would actually be super concerned if there was no competition. So we're talking about category of the decade, $100 billion offline category, but only Snabbit is the one talking about it. That would be surprising, right? So I think the fact that there is competition, the fact that there are other people who also see this category the same way, whether it's a large incumbent or other new age startups, I think it just validates the proposition. Does make it a little more difficult for us to show you guys unit economics, but we'll get there. We're trending well on that. But I think it's par for course. I don't see it. I do see the reason why people might have these beliefs that we're discounting a lot. But we have our numbers, and we know that cohorts are moving in the right direction. Frequency per customer per month is constantly improving. Retention is at par with global consumer internet benchmarks. And that's why we're very confident of the way in which we're executing.
Sounds good. So Aayush, I wanted to ask, we just mentioned that this was a competitive round, both the first and the second one, but especially the first one. Given that you have a lot of suitors, I'm just generally curious, did you do diligence on us, and how did you think about partnering Bertelsmann, right? Like what was going through in your head?
I have a philosophy, and it's worked well for me most of the times. I do this even with a lot of people that I hire. Can I spend time with this person? Can I be real with this person? Are we enjoying sparring with each other, etc.? And I think those things checked out when we were debating the category, which is why I was very clear. I think there was obviously we had a couple of alternatives, but I think in my mind, and I always conveyed that to you in equal transparency, that I was very excited to partner with you and obviously Bertelsmann. So I think that just like worked for me. I didn't do many ref checks, but I've never done it. Even in previous rounds, and we had 3 investments before that. I think I have a story on why we went ahead with each, and the common underlying theme would be just like a lot of comfort with the people I was engaging with. And in cases where that hasn't happened, I've also resisted myself.
And
So
there was no lack of sparring, I can say that.
yeah, like and it continues.
It continues,
But I think that comfort was just like very helpful. And that's what I basically, and I think, as I said, the authenticity of the process actually talks a lot about what is going to happen after. Like I still remember I said that I would love for us to receive the cash on Dhanteras. Right, where it was around the same time.
I remember that, man. The amount of pressure, Pankaj, that Aayush put us. Actually, I should say on Jayesh and team. But we did what? We finished it in the whole process in 3 weeks.
Yes.
And we did it when one of the weeks was a Diwali week.
Yes.
Right. And I remember Aayush telling me that, let's make a plan for 2 to 3 weeks. Right. And I said, Aayush, that doesn't happen. And trust me, it's not because of lack of effort on our part. Data rooms and everything, it takes time. Like we can go. But every time we have that, it's usually the issue at the company's end. And I remember very clearly that what you replied to that Rohit, let's make it a challenge, right? Let's see whether it can happen or not. I will give it everything. Tell your advisors that this is a unique case, an outlier case. Everything will be ready on day 1. And let's try and make this happen. So I have to say, actually, while I was super impressed and kicked about what we achieved, but I have to say, the input from your side and your team, and especially you coming in, resolving everything. 3 weeks, $30 million investment, 4 major investors on the table. That was quite something. No?
Yeah, I've become a pro right now. Every quarter I do this.
I think we are trying to kind of learn that as well. But I think on our side, depending on how founders and companies are, I can tell you in the last 10 years, we have taken time and we have not taken time. And that depends on what the other side is doing, etc. I think we can be fast, we can be slow, we can be somewhere in the middle. But it depends a lot on what's happening on the other side. A lot of times we actually see that we are faster than the other side, which is what Rohit mentioned, that we on our side, we are one investor. On your side, you have the company and
existing
X number of existing investors. So your side is more complicated than ours. And that's what we typically kind of see. But I think hats off to you to manage your side fairly well, where we could kind of do this in that fashion. And also, I think on that side, I think on the diligence side, look, if you look at our history of backing, 30 plus companies, more than 20 companies would be platforms. And that is what excites us a lot. We see that in a country like India, which is highly unorganized and fragmented, etc., the ability to organize a sector via a platform where you have a demand side and a supply side, and you're trying to kind of organize that as an intermediary. That is something we have done that, and we have excelled that fairly well. And as Rohit kind of mentioned, when we kind of spend time with you, we realized that what we were solving was not just organizing a sector, but this was literally like once in a generation type of opportunity, and we were excited about it. So even if you would have given the challenge of 1 week or 2 weeks, he would have delivered.
No, it was super fun to do that.
No, I think for us also, see, one thing is that, as you mentioned sometime before also, that the way we run the company internally and the way we prepare metrics, data rooms, dockets, anything, right? I think there is absolutely there's full symmetry. So the thing that we do is that we have a checklist, and I tell obviously kudos to the team that actually puts in all the effort, but they're prepared with an initial checklist. So I say that I realize that a lot of time is spent in just sharing checklists, etc. I said give them everything you have, and then incremental 10 points we'll just service. And because there's absolutely no lack of clarity and full transparency in the way we operate between what happens internally and the way we interact with our investors, it just speeds up the process.
Absolutely. So Aayush, as a category creator, as a leader in this space, there are a lot of firsts that you have done, a lot of innovation that you have done. on network design, on consumer side, on the supply side. What is in store for future? And let's say next 6 to 12 months. Like we always disagree on what short term and long term are in our jargon. But let's say if I put 6 to 12 months, what can we expect from Snabbit?
I think my present is basically the future that you will see in 6 to 12 months. So I'm spending time on what we will end up executing in the next 6 to 12 months. So obviously the category is wide open, massive depth, and the core category continues to scale. I think what we will be surprised by in the next 6 to 12 months is the way in which new categories come up, and the way in which we actually see an ecosystem of sorts being created within Snabbit as a platform. We piloted with home cooks. The frequency of that category is actually higher than our core category. The retention is through the roof. Customers that transact across both categories are now transacting 6 to 7 times a month.
Wow.
So we're seeing
which is double of our usual.
Which is double, right? And that overlap is meaningful.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest surprise is going to be in the way in which other categories, which probably are not very easy to imagine in this whole on-demand space, will actually get digitized. Like cooks, for example, for a long time, everyone debates that, okay, what will you do about the taste and how will you solve that? We've serviced some 10,000 jobs and looks like we've cracked it.
Oh, wow.
So
that's very impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
looking forward to that. Yeah. Super. And now if you put the arc a bit longer, where do you see Snabbit, on a 5 to 7 year journey? Like what's your vision? What's the shape of the company then?
So I think that the best way to put it is that if you say 5 years out, if you look back at the top 2 or 3 disruptions that change the way in which households and in the way we live, Snabbit will be one of them.
Yeah.
I think services is so entrenched in our everyday ecosystem, yet so fragmented, underserved, that digitizing this will probably one of the biggest conveniences that modern day households will benefit from.
Yeah.
And this will happen at scale. It won't happen in the top 10 cities. I think it will happen in more than the top 100 cities.
Yeah. Well, that's a great ambition to have.
No, we are fully excited and very, very excited and fully backing you with that vision. We are here for the long term and look forward to building it not only for 12 months, not only for 12 quarters, but definitely, much, much longer. Yeah. Even if it takes 10, 12 years, we are very excited to back you.
Yeah. Thank you. No, it's been a privilege to partner with Bertelsmann.
Yeah.
And I think that the team has had a role to play in us getting here from last year Diwali till now.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of you to say. And the way things are evolving, I believe we'll be here on this couch again in a year's time. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Done.
Sounds good.